All right, here we go. Let's do this again. All right, hey, come on in here. There's a request. And now it's much more simple. Well, hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I don't know what happened. I sent a request over.
I know it came up and it wouldn't let me touch the screen, so I don't know if it had been too long or what, but yeah, it popped up and I couldn't hit the button. So
Can you see my baby
whatever.
Yoda?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We're here now. So how are you?
I'm in my son's room.
Oh, okay. Oh, I love the Yoda. Heck yeah, baby Yoda. That's awesome. Is this the quiet place in the house?
Yeah, right now because my husband's in our room and the boys are downstairs and being loud. And so I'm like, okay, I'm taking over your room.
Yeah. Well, we'll go in the first video. I turned my camera around a couple of times, and this crazy area right here used to be my desk, so it's kind of a hot mess. But since the kindergartner is now home, this public area of the office is hers, and I've moved my office into the bedroom for any kind of peace and quiet that I can get back there. So crazy times we live in. Crazy
Yeah,
times.
our house is now a school and an office and a home
Yeah. Yeah.
and a restaurant. And what else? Mm.
A house with a dog and
Mm-hmm. Yep.
how's Coda?
He's good. He's
Uh,
needy as always. I'm just
I'm
trying to
sure.
figure out how far to put my camera. I feel like the camera's like all up in my face. Like,
Well, you look good. I like your hair. No hat.
no hats. I did my own hair today, and oh man, I feel like a new woman.
Yeah,
I
I
tell you
love it.
what.
I've got to go get a haircut sometime, or I'm going to just shave my head because at some point this thing that I grow out the top will start making me look like a cockatoo, and it is so
You're
long.
gonna have a full-on mohawk.
I know it is crazy.
You gotta dye it like purple and green and stuff. Have fun
I'm
with it.
I don't know that I'm that bold. I would do anything, but I don't know. I mean, anyway. Well, I'm super excited that we get to talk. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I know you had busy schedules and couldn't do it a couple of times and that kind of stuff when I asked, but like, man, schedules change and here we are.
Yep. We're all home now.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for a pandemic. We can all just hang out and talk. That's what we got plenty of time to do now. So, well, cool deal. Well, I always start them off the same way. As I've told you, I just really want to know, like, what in your life kind of led you to think that WW would work for you? Where did you learn that WW was a program that helped people lose weight and that kind of stuff? A little history on WW, and then we'll just kind of go from there.
Yeah, so actually, I didn't know much about, at the time, it was Weight Watchers.
Yeah,
Still getting used to saying WW, but I didn't know much about it, to be honest. I was at the end of my rope. It was about 10 years of up and down roller coaster trying to lose weight and trying different diets. And I was just like fed up.
yeah,
And I'd seen Weight Watchers work for, there was actually a woman in the office where I worked. And over the course of a year, I just watched her like behind the desk just kind of shrink over the course of a year. Like, and finally people started asking questions, like, what are you doing? Everybody always wants to know if there's a magic
yeah,
pill or,
yeah.
and she had said that she did Weight Watchers. And I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting. Like, I didn't really know much about it. I knew it was for weight loss, but
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of one of those programs, like that where you have to eat their food and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I didn't know. And I reached the highest weight that I'd seen on the scale. And then I just had that aha moment where I was like, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, whatever I've been doing is not working. I cannot do this on my own,
Hmm.
obviously.
Yeah.
I need to try something else. And at the time, Weight Watchers was having a joining deal, like you'd lose 10 pounds on us.
Yeah.
And I was like thinking, well, I mean, at least I could get my money back if, like I like a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah.
And So if I could just lose 10 pounds, at least that would get me started, you know? And I walked in those doors, and there was a woman there who was a receptionist at the time, and I knew her. And just seeing that familiar face, it like, because I was so nervous. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you walk in those doors for the first time, and I didn't know what to expect. I was scared. I was like, not, I wouldn't say ashamed, but I just didn't feel good in my
Yeah.
own skin. I knew that I was at my highest weight. I didn't like the clothes I was wearing. You know, I just didn't feel confident. And
Yeah.
seeing her made me feel like so just at peace. Like I was like okay then when I saw her.
Yeah.
And I just poured my heart out to her, and I cried my eyes out. Like the very first day that I went into Weight Watchers, I cried my eyes out to her. I was at, I mean, I had literally reached my breaking point.
Yeah.
And she didn't offer any kind of like advice or like, you know, immediate solutions. She was just there and
Yeah.
completely listened to me and made me feel welcome. And she didn't try to sell me on anything or try to, you know, like
Yeah.
give me false hope or anything like that. She knew where I was coming from. And that was the first time where I felt like, you know what, I'm not alone in this. Because after years, 10 years of diets, trying to do it on my own, I kind of got this sense like, am I the only one that
Mm-hmm.
has these struggles? Like, why can I not lose weight?
Yeah.
Like, why is this not working for me? Like, is something wrong with me? You know? And I got the sense that she actually knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And they invited me in to attend my first workshop. And I didn't say anything. You know, the first few meetings, you don't really say anything. You're a bit shy in the back,
Yeah.
and that's okay. And I listened to people talk, and it was like amazing just to me that there were so many people connected in this united kind of like understanding
Mm-hmm.
of like what I'd been going through. And so from then on, like I knew that workshops were where I needed to be. Like I needed to be with people. I needed that support. And I'm naturally quite a social kind of person. I like being with people. And so
Yeah.
it fit me, my personality as well. And I just decided, you know what? I'm going to forget everything I think I know, because you know,
Yeah.
after dieting for that long and trying so many diets, you think you're kind of the expert. Like
Yeah.
you're the expert on weight loss, right? Like you've got this down. Like carbs are the enemy. You can't eat sugar.
Yeah.
Like I have a whole story about bananas.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was kind of like, you know, you think you know everything. And after a few weeks of dating a meeting, I call it date a meeting,
Yeah.
I, uh, I decided, right, I'm just going to completely forget everything I think I know about weight loss, and I'm going to start from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
And every week in the workshops, I would learn something new and I would
Yeah.
apply it in my life. And it's not just like, oh, okay, this is the topic this week. Cool, let's like just throw that out and then move
Yeah.
on to the next. And I'm going to keep doing what I think I know already. It was, let's absorb this information, let's learn it like a student
Mm-hmm.
learning from scratch and apply it, learn how I can apply this to my life. And I
Yeah.
did that every week. And here I am. And now it's been almost 5 years.
Wow.
So
5 years.
I
So it
went
was,
in there thinking I might lose 10 pounds and get my money back, and
so that was
turned it into a lifestyle.
2015, 2016,
2015, yeah.
2015, and you walked in at your heaviest weight and your first attempt at WW?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you're a one-timer?
I'm a one timer.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's kind of rare. It's kind of rare. I'm only a two-timer, so I went for about 3 or 4 months the first time, and then I quit for about a year and a half, and then I came back, and I've been at it every day since. Not a single day have I missed since I started this second
Nice.
time. Yeah, absolutely. So
I think it doesn't matter how many times,
it
you know,
doesn't.
you join. You
It
know,
doesn't.
we just keep trying and keep going, you know?
Yeah,
That's what
absolutely.
matters.
Absolutely. It will either it'll either stick and it'll work, or you'll accomplish just enough to continue on. Like there's just no reason ever to give up because you're worth it. That's one thing that I think that WW kind of uh, teaches people to learn their own value and their own worth through all of the things that come across that way. You probably won't ever have an actual weekly topic that talks about self-worth or something like that those exact words. But weave slowly through the weeks and stuff, you learn that, man, showing up for me is not a bad thing and that kind of stuff. So
Mhm.
tell me, like back in the day, 2015, you walk in there and like I understand those moments. Like I've cried in a workshop more than probably any guy ever in the history of WW. That is me. So I claim that title because I cry all the time. I'm just a crier. But I wasn't at that point. I was a little more frustrated with myself because I knew that I had some bad behaviors going on, that kind of stuff. So where were you like emotionally on that when you got there in 2015? Like how did you unwind that? I guess because you don't have to necessarily say kind of where your mental state was unless you're comfortable about saying that. But I just want to know like because there's gonna be a lot of people that would listen to this episode eventually and they'll see that, oh, she's kind of like me. So that's how how did you unwind that? What was the success that kind of started that pattern?
Um, well, I mean, as far as like where I was at, like, I always talk about how no matter what my weight was, I was a happy person.
Hmm.
I'm just, I'm just that way.
Yeah.
I love joy and finding happiness in life, no matter how small. That's just who I am. And so being positive and being happy, I had a happy life
Yeah.
and I was a happy person. So you know, sometimes I see people like posting like before and after pictures and completely tearing themselves down, like
Hmm.
in their before.
Yeah.
And that's just not me. Like
Yeah.
I even at my heaviest, I was still happy
Yeah.
and grateful and loving, you know, my family and life itself. So that, you know, fortunately did not impact. I realize that it does impact some people.
Hmm.
I'm not oblivious to that, but for me, it didn't, which, you know, is great. But on the other side of that, despite being happy, I lost my confidence.
Hmm.
You know, that just inner feeling of like the outside matches the inside.
Yeah.
It was, there was a disconnect there
Hmm.
because I didn't feel that my appearance and my health overall really reflected who I was.
Hmm.
And so it was kind of like it would hold me back like that. And so I
Yeah.
got to the point where like, especially for me, was I see myself missing out of photographs for years, or I'm in the photograph but I'm hidden by people in front of me or objects or bags or whatever it is that I
Hmm.
could kind of like hide my body behind, because most of my weight, I feel like, yeah, my face thinned out, but most of my weight is was held on my thighs and my butt.
Yeah.
So I kind of carried it like that, and I still do. And that's just my body shape, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But you know, for some reason at that time, I was okay with having like my face in the picture, but not anything else.
Yeah.
And so I wish that I had just gotten in the photo frame for many of those years. That's why a lot of the times when I kind of post comparison pictures, as you know, to support myself on the journey, I really truly feel in those kind of then and now pictures are very kind
Yeah.
of motivational in that way. I don't have a lot of those photos.
Yeah.
A lot of them are repeats
Yeah.
because that's all I got. Or they're from my wedding day because
Mm.
I was forced to be in the photo frame on that day. But so yeah, going back to kind of what you asked about where I was at when I first started, I was happy, but I had lost my confidence, and
Mm.
like after, you know, I was successful in my career. I felt like I was successful in motherhood.
Yeah.
I had my partner at the time, who's now my husband, just completely in love, and just so many things to be grateful for, my family, everything. But for some reason, this weight loss piece, I just couldn't get right.
Yeah.
And so it was like, it impacted my confidence after a while. Like, what the hell is
Yeah.
going on? Like,
Yeah.
I can figure all this other stuff out, but why can't this just click with me?
Yeah.
And turned out I've been doing it wrong for quite a number of years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
that's where
so,
I was at. My confidence got hit pretty hard.
oh, I get that. So, do you share how much you've lost on WW?
Yes, so I maintain at 55. I
Okay.
lost 60, and then I maintain my happy weight, like right around 55 pounds
Okay.
lost. I don't ever share numbers. I'm in my healthy BMI range. That's what I'm happy with.
Yeah.
And the reason I do that is because I feel like people sometimes get stuck in a comparison game with
Yeah.
numbers.
Yeah.
I get asked a lot, like, how tall are you? How old are you? People trying to figure out where they fit
Hmm.
along with, my numbers.
Yeah.
And I just don't get into that game at all. Like,
Yeah.
I don't, I feel like there's such a large range of numbers where people can feel good in. That's really a personal choice. And I'm not going to put mine out there because I don't want, especially like Instagram is filled with young people as
Yeah.
well that don't have the emotional maturity and other kind of complex development formed yet, to where I don't want ever a young girl, especially anybody, but especially a young
Yeah.
girl, to kind of look and be like, oh, like that's where I have to be in order to be happy, in order to be healthy.
Yeah.
No, you need to find it for yourself. And
Yeah.
I truly, truly believe that, just for anyone, you know. And maybe it's outside of the BMI range. That happens too. That BMI range is such a developed by a mathematician.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
I feel like sometimes it's arbitrary, and honestly, I feel like people can be happy and healthy at a lot of different weights.
Yeah.
So
I always tell people that BMI stands for be me instead. So whatever it is, wherever you're
I like
happy,
that.
if you're happy and you're still 40 pounds overweight, then be happy until you're not, and then be happy at 38 pounds overweight or wherever.
Hmm.
Like if you're happy, then you're happy, and you're gonna.
Yes, but to be fair, piggybacking on that, I was happy,
Yeah.
60 pounds overweight, but I was not healthy.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes, people can confuse that and think, oh, well, I'm happy here. And that's great.
Yeah.
I think that is really great. But there's the health factor that
Yeah.
needs to come into play.
Yeah.
And, for me, it was, I want to live a long life and be there I want to meet my grandchildren. I want to be able to play with them. I want to not feel terrible when I'm
Yeah.
older. And I had a lot of reasons why,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. And
those were just a few.
yeah, and I think truly that happiness, you can be happy about a lot of different things, but being happy with your weight and how that is, I think a lot of times people discount that because it almost is either unattainable or unachievable, or they can't see the path to it or whatever, and don't realize that the path is actually obedience for the next meal. The path is the simple obedience for the next bite, or even less than that, the next thought that I have. Bringing every thought into captivity so that you can actually allow that purpose for your life to be enacted. Those kind of things, I think, are the things that you learn after a while of doing WW. It's not something you walk in the first day like, oh, I'm going to get my mindset right, and then I'll lose weight. No, it's how you get the food like lined up. So I'm just curious, like, what behaviors did you immediately start working on? You said the weekly topics were really crucial for you at the beginning, but over the first 6 months or a year, how did you change your food behaviors?
Tracking
Yeah.
changed my food behaviors. I overate.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I got overweight. Was I ate too much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a foodie. I love food, and I do like to eat a lot of food.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, I didn't get to Weight Watchers because I ate carrots and
Yeah.
small portions of them. So, for me, tracking is what helped me learn about portions
Yeah.
and what should be a right portion for me. Because after years of, I tried so many different diets, it kind of like really distorted my view of food
Yeah.
and what was nutritious, what wasn't, what was allowed. I had so many labels and like rules
Yeah.
attached to food that tracking allowed me to erase those labels
Hmm.
and remove the good and bad. And it was just, okay, what do I like to eat? How can I make this work within my points? And let's see, and it was like, okay, it's like a bank account, like I
Yeah.
want to pay for it with this much, or do I want to spend this much? Like, is it worth it? All of a sudden, these things really didn't become as worth it as they used to be.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, that was the biggest thing for me, was that tracking helped me get my portions in check. And it helped me kind of figure out, you know, like I said, what was worth it. And at the time, I had these plates. They were Weight Watcher plates, and I still have them.
Hmm.
And they had like a dotted design on them. And every meal that I had was on these. I had two plates, and I would rotate them. I would wash
Yeah.
one and then use the other one. And it was like divided up. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I've
It was
seen the
like the
place.
plate was like divided up in like half one dots and
Hmm.
then quarter, and you're supposed to fill up half your plate with like fruits and veg,
Hmm.
and then you'd have a quarter whole grain and a quarter protein. And it helped me visually. I'm a very visual person, as
Yeah.
if you couldn't tell from Instagram. I love photography, and I
Yeah.
see things very visually. And so it helped me learn, like, okay, this is how much I should be eating. The plate itself was smaller than the regular dinner plates that we had. I got rid
Yeah.
of those. And so, yeah, that helped me a lot.
Awesome. Awesome. So did you become interested in becoming a foodie and a cook post, or you always loved to cook? Like that
I
was something
always
you.
loved to cook.
So
Yeah.
did you
It was
learn?
something I did growing up. My mom taught me how to cook. And
Yeah.
that's why actually developing a recipe is quite difficult for me. People
Yeah.
always ask, like, do you have a recipe? Do you have a recipe? And
Yeah.
it's really hard for me actually, because especially now with where we have a lot of 0 point foods that we don't
Mhm.
have to weigh and measure. I'm cooking like how I always used to, a little of that, taste
Yeah.
it, all right, stir it. And it's a lot of the times I don't know exactly how much I put in of
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
But yeah, my mom, I have fond memories growing up in the kitchen with my mom. So
Yeah. Where did you grow up? Like, where was home for you?
it was kind of half and half. I grew up my early childhood in Europe
Okay.
and moved to America when I was 11. And I actually have like a few questions that I put up a question box in
Oh
my
yeah.
Instagram stories to ask, because since I knew we were going live tonight,
Yeah.
to ask if anybody had some questions, I would answer them, and I thought you could answer them with me as
Yeah.
well
Yeah.
for your journey. One of the questions was actually, how old were you when you moved to America? And so
Oh,
that
okay.
answers that question,
Yeah.
because there are people that have an accent. Yeah, I lost my accent a long time ago, but it does come back. Like
Yeah.
when I'm around my family, it's like it's ingrained in my brain. So I'll
Yeah.
come back from a visit in England, and I'll
Yeah. Yeah. I think
say things a little differently.
last
Uh,
summer you went over there, and I know you storied a little bit while you were over there, and there was definitely some difference in the enunciations on some words.
it's just like naturally back there
Yeah.
somewhere. It
Yeah.
just comes back.
Absolutely. That's cool. Uh, any other questions you want to ask?
Well, how about you? Have you always lived where you live now?
No, I grew up in Arkansas for the first like 25, 30 years of my life. And then I moved to Tennessee, moved to Florida, back to Arkansas. And then I moved to Oklahoma in 2010 when I met my eventual wife. We got married in 2011. And
Oh,
I've lived
nice.
here ever since. So a decade of living in Oklahoma. So
I suppose
Luckily,
it feels like home now.
yeah, it's the bottom of the bowl, but we're here, so I enjoy living in Oklahoma. It's a good place to be. Um, so on your food, like how do you handle food? Like you've been at Gold for quite a while now. Like you got a couple of boys and a husband and yourself. Like how do y'all do it as a family? How do y'all do WW as a family?
Well, this is actually ties into one of the questions that was asked is, what's your biggest daily struggle and how did you overcome it? My answer is about basically eating with my family. I
Mm-hmm.
have two teenage boys and they're swimmers and they eat so much. And my husband is like a beanpole, like,
Yeah,
and he just is like, he can eat so much and he doesn't put on any weight. And so I just had to come to terms with the fact that I just can't keep up with them.
yeah,
I can't eat like they do.
yeah,
You know, you like to think like, oh, I can have whatever, you know, on plan, I can have whatever I want. Well, yeah, you can, but it's like, honestly, I cannot keep up with them.
yeah,
And I think that's my daily struggle is that, you know, like they're constantly, the kitchen is like a revolving door.
yeah,
And I try to implement the whole like this kitchen is closed. Well, the kitchen is closed like for me, but
yeah,
the boys are like always in there, like standing in front of the pantry, pulling things
yeah,
out. And so, yeah, that's just been something that I've had to figure out is that, and my husband, when he cooks these very rich, kind of cheesy things that
hmm
cost so many points. So I've just had to learn, right, well, when my husband cooks, I'm going to have a smaller portion
hmm
and I fill the whole plate with greens or
yeah,
something else. You know, it's like visually I've had to see it that way.
yeah,
And with the boys, you know, I don't snack when they do.
yeah,
Like, I mean,
yeah.
I have like a planned snack, but then all the other times I just have to, I drink tea or
Yeah.
water or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And the interesting thing, and I've talked to multiple people about this, especially ones that have spouses that aren't necessarily doing WW, and maybe you said your husband's thin, so he doesn't need to, but even spouses that do need to, that don't eat the same food. Like I have an example of a husband who's losing weight like crazy. His wife was following him and like seeing what he ate and ate the same things, almost portion for portion. Like that's not how it works. Your body is different, so that's why everybody has to do it for themselves. So I would encourage anybody who hears her struggle. Yes, it may be hard, but you still have to do it for yourself, even when you're like doing it with someone. So doing it alone is one thing, but man, doing it with somebody can even be a struggle too. So it's
Hmm.
what
Well, and
a
I eat
go ahead.
differently than they do as well because I don't eat meat.
Oh
So I'm used to having a different meal
yeah,
or something a little different. Like I may have some things on my plate that are the same, but I've just said, you know what? Who cares what's on my plate? As long
yeah,
as I'm sitting down at the family table and I'm enjoying, to me, it's like completely changed to where it's not about the food anymore. It's
hmm
about the time that I'm spending at the family table and we're talking about our days and we're catching up and we're laughing and that's what matters to me. I don't care if
yeah,
my meal is the same as what's on the plate next to me.
yeah,
Like, you know, it's that time together that I really care about.
yeah, yeah, and
And then whatever's on my plate is going to work for me because that's
yeah.
what I want for myself.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And it's the fruit of that is you have had to do the mental math per se and figure out what's worth it to you. Like even so far as to say maybe I'll put myself in a situation where the food is not going to be right and maybe I'll just totally abstain. I won't eat. I don't need to eat right now. I'm not going to die because I didn't eat this meal. I can wait. When I get home, I'll eat the right food. You know, those are those social situations where people think, "Oh, I'm in here and somebody's cooked for me and I must eat." And then you're eating things that is going to shame you or make you regret it or that kind of stuff. So it's a strong thing to learn. I know it's hard for a lot of people to learn how to not eat when they're not thinking about what they're eating. Like bringing that whole thing of like seeing the moment of what I'm eating and assigning the value of it. How do you feel like you did that for yourself? And I think a lot of that probably comes back and grows your confidence when you see that, oh, I can do this. then
Hmm.
it's like day one. I can do this a month. I can do this 6 months. And then 5 years later, you're still holding rock steady right there as the rock star you are.
Well, I have slips, just like anybody else. So let's not get that confused. But, it was a learning process for me because I come from that history of restricting foods.
Mm-hmm.
Before, most recently, before I joined Weight Watchers, it was the low carb, fad. And
Yeah.
of course, I went from low carb to slow carb to belly fat. I don't even know. But it was like I was banishing like
Mm-hmm.
breads and carby things or whatever. And so lifting the restrictions is what's made all the difference for me.
Yeah.
I talked about how, I had to remove the labels and stuff. It was the same thing with restriction. And all of a sudden, when everything was allowed,
Mm-hmm.
then it wasn't so glorified anymore. And
Yeah.
I could see clearly to make the choices I wanted to make because it wasn't a question of I couldn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
It was, do I want it and what's the value in it for me?
Yeah.
Does that answer your
Oh yeah.
question?
Oh
Or
yeah.
not?
I
I
think
lost
there's
track.
clearly two approaches. Like there's some people can approach weight loss with the bull in the china closet. I'm going to do this by golly. And there's some people that whole mentality has already run its course and it doesn't work. And that's the people that have to realize that, oh, I need to try a little bit softer and do this with a little bit more of a slow, gracious approach to losing weight. And that's a smaller level of obedience that you have. When you come in and do it like a bull, then you're going to tell yourself you're restricted. You're going to tell yourself you have to do this much activity. You're going to tell yourself all these things, and sometimes those don't come true, even though you tell yourself that. That's why being able to actually dial it back and say, oh, what's the simplest thing that I can do? Well, the simplest thing I can do is eat within my smart points for the day, and
Mm-hmm.
then add those days up, best out of 7, 5 or 6 out of 7, lose weight for the week, lose weight for the month, and then continue on. So that's one thing I love about WW. No matter how simple you make it, and Smart Points is nothing more than a simplistic way to talk about a calorie reduction in our day. But when you do it, it works. There's so many years and decades of historical data that shows that it works, and people like you and that kind of stuff. I was curious, you were talking about your boys a while ago. How do two teenage boys like that their mom has almost 100,000 Instagram followers? How do they handle that? They don't care.
No, whatever.
They don't want to talk to your crowd, probably.
Yeah. And honestly, it's never been about numbers for me.
I
I
know.
started, I use this account the same way as I did when I first started.
Yeah.
I've been posting, I posted a few recap like meals, like all my meals for the
Mhm.
day, because that's how it started for me.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
account has always been an accountability tool for me.
Yeah.
Visually documenting my journey because
Yeah.
that's who I am. I like to document things and
Absolutely.
visually see things.
Yeah.
Plus, I like the challenge of the photography aspect of it.
Yeah.
But it used to be I would post
Hmm.
every single meal because I
Wow.
needed to see it. I
Yeah.
needed to see what it looked like. I needed to that like double accountability of like getting it not only into my tracker, but I needed it visually there too. And I could go back to see because I was learning about like what foods were working for me and what
Hmm.
I was exploring. It's really fun. Like you have to
Yeah.
look at this whole journey as an adventure, right? It's really
Yeah.
fun to explore what you like to eat and how
Yeah.
you can make things healthy but really fun at the same time, like,
Yeah.
oh wow, I just totally made a pancake out of squash. Like,
Yeah.
cool.
Whoa.
Like,
And it tasted
I've
great.
always looked at it like that. It has to be an adventure.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
so, I've been doing that lately is, for a while I haven't needed to post every meal,
Yeah.
but I felt
How
like
how does
recently I'm like, I'm going to do that in quarantine.
how does it feel now, all these years later, 5 years later, to be the person standing in the room that is the expert?
I wouldn't consider myself an expert. I feel like I'm always growing,
Yeah.
and there's so much to learn.
Yeah.
And so I really feel like, and especially meeting new members that are coming in and people that have been members for a long time, I'm always learning something from somebody.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's like the magic behind
Yeah.
the Dub Dub family, is
Yeah.
that we all have something to offer in our own way, you know? So yeah, I definitely wouldn't consider it that. But,
Yeah.
you know, somebody asked me, one of the questions that was asked was, how do you stay motivated at Lifetime? It's been, so I reached my goal in December 2016, and did the maintaining for however many weeks, 6 weeks, yeah. And then you'd think I'd know that. Anyway, Lifetime.
Hey, 6 weeks is one pandemic long right here.
But yeah, I mean, and this time later, it's just, I've learned that all the things that I was doing when I was in weight loss mode, these are the same things that I'm doing in maintenance.
Yeah.
Just with a little less precision, I would say. Like, maintenance, you're just building those habits when you're in weight loss, so you know what to do in maintenance, pretty much.
Yeah.
And if you don't look at it that way, then you're going to gain the weight back, and you're going to have to start all over again, because that's just how it is. I always tell people, like, don't do anything in weight loss that you're not willing to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Because you start doing all these little tricks. I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there, you know, doing all those things and restricting and making rules and all of this stuff in weight loss. And then guess what? Within a few years, you're back to where you started.
Yeah.
So you have to put in the work. And that's why my journey's never been quick.
Yeah.
I didn't lose weight quickly. That wasn't my intention. I didn't care how long it took me. I was going to put in the work every month, every week in the workshops, and I was going to change my habits, because then I can sustain them. Then I know what I'm going to need to do long term.
Yeah.
So
I came up with an example the other day. I was thinking through my mind about the difference between food rules and healthy habits. And food rules are like the lines on a football field, and healthy habits is just stay on the field. Or you can go all the way over here. There's all these lines. You can go from end zone to end zone. If you're staying in a healthy habit zone, you're doing well. But food rules is like, you got to stay on the line and all this stuff. And for me, it would just never have ever worked. If you just said this 10 things, you got to do those. If you don't do them, like that kind of discipline would not have worked for me. It was that growth that I had to do to find myself, because rules were not the thing that was missing from my life. An actual understanding of how my body worked is the biggest thing that I was missing. And so I'm kind of curious, to talk about, like, what do you feel like is your strongest component, like in the mindset thing, and then we can end up talking about activity here in a little bit. But just how do you approach mindset? Like, what is it to you that allows you to feel like you're being successful, thinking about yourself or thinking about food or what have you?
I would say that there's so many moving parts, really, to be honest. There's not one specific thing, I would say, but I feel like it's important to realize that you're not going to be motivated all the time. You know, I think that I get this question asked a lot, is like, how do you stay motivated? I've lost my motivation. What do I do? And I think it's so important to just be okay with not being motivated sometimes, because it's going to happen. It's impossible to be motivated 100% of the time every day. And that's where that daily routine, those habits kick in.
Yeah.
Because even when you're not motivated to do it, it's just part of your habits, and you just do it anyway.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what's helped me keep going, is despite the fact that, you know what, I don't feel like it, because I have a lot of those I don't feel like it days.
Yeah.
You just do it anyway. And so that's where my mind is that, you know, it's just what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And I have a very, I'm always envisioning things for myself. So I would envision myself at goal and what that would feel like.
Yeah.
And one of my whys that actually I made happen was I wanted life insurance for my family. I didn't qualify for life insurance because I was overweight. I was beyond the guideline for healthy weight, so I was too at risk to be covered for life insurance. And this was hit me really hard. It was after I got married, and my husband and I, we went to file for life insurance and did all the boring married things. And he could get life insurance and I couldn't, and it was a shock. It was like,
Yeah.
well, what do you mean, you know? And that was like, all of a sudden now I needed, it wasn't just physical. It wasn't just I was hiding in pictures. It was, okay, now we're talking health.
Yeah.
And because I felt fine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was overweight, but I felt fine.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, well, I'm still fine. Like, this isn't anything about my health. You know, I didn't have, you know, I was lucky not to have high blood pressure and all the cardiovascular risks and whatever else, diabetes and all this stuff that happens with being overweight. I was so lucky not to have that.
Yeah.
But it did, finally, that was the first step to where it was like, you know what? Now we're talking health and you better get your shit together.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, we're going to do this now.
Yeah.
And so I envisioned myself getting those documents, getting that life insurance coverage, and knowing that my family was protected.
Yeah.
I don't know why, above all other things, this particular thing was so important. I think it's because they told me I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And when somebody tells me I can't do something,
Oh, there we go.
you better watch out.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to show you, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to turn around and dance on top of it.
That's right.
So yeah, I mean, and I was determined. And those visions of like realizing the reasons why I wanted to do it, that's what it's key in my mindset as well. Like right now, I'm envisioning myself at the end of this quarantine. And at the end of all this, when we're coming out of it and we're back in studios and we're with our members and we're with our friends and we're giving them tight hugs and everything, and I'm imagining how beautiful that's going to be and how good I want to feel.
Yeah.
I don't want to have 10 pounds to lose.
Yeah.
I don't want to show up at the workshop. I want my members to be proud of me, and I want to be proud of me when I stand up there and I live this program and I live this lifestyle that means so much to me, because I want to be healthy. I want to feel good. I want to keep that going. And so I'm envisioning that at the end. How is that going to feel? What outfit am I going to wear?
Yeah.
You know, like, where are we going to go? Like, all of this stuff. So I feel like that's a key part in my mindset, is envisioning things for myself.
I'm right there with you. I'd kind of determined in my mind that I didn't want this to end. And I just had written off that period of time as like, just, it is what it is, and we'll get back started now. Because I think I might have thought about that for a little bit, maybe a week or so. But I weighed this morning, and I am at least a pound below what I was when we had our last meeting, and I'm very happy about that.
There you go.
I'm like, wow, like I'm going to continue to move the needle down. So like the next time I get on an official WW scale, there'll be a down. And that's important to me. And I did have those thoughts about whether or not I could give that up and just let that go and then just deal with the consequences, you know, because there's a lot of people that do that for specific things that they value. That's like a trip, a vacation, a cruise, those kind of things.
Certainly.
Those are intentional. This one wasn't intentional. This one was put upon us. So I think it's a healthy mindset to decide that. There's a lot of people that probably aren't having that conversation with themselves. And we need to have that conversation. Is this something I need to refocus on? And if anything, I think that focus can be a healthy distraction from the craziness that's going on in our lives. Remembering that it's not bad to put ourselves back as a priority, even in this craziest of times that we've all experienced.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, I found that, like, I don't know about you, but I feel like I've been more active now than I was prior to the quarantine. Like, my dog's never had this many walks. He's so tired.
Yeah, I've definitely ridden my bike more, and I definitely have done more at-home exercises, and I've logged 50 times as many more push-ups as I normally would do.
Nice.
But I am not able to work out at home as hard as I work out at the gym, because the trainer that I have at the gym is a former boxer, and we go to town on that. So I think I'm going to meet up with him tomorrow, and we're going to do a one-on-one with him just kind of yelling at me. So I might be out of shape and not be able to do it. But I've been doing this stuff at home, and I've never done that. I never worked out at home because I always just go to the gym. And so we got these little barbells, and I posted like 3 videos, and people loved them. Like, this is so simple, standing in front of a kitchen bench and doing some squats and like simple stuff. And I never really thought that that would be something people cared to watch, but it's interesting that, as simple as that is, it's just continuing to grow that obedience and that habit of moving your body, because I felt good when that was over. As 9 minutes as it was, it still felt good to do that. And I think remembering those feelings can really help propel us forward into these coming days. As you know, as every day you wake up and the news is like, well, the peak is now not till the second week of May, or the peak is, all the things that just make you want to give up mentally. What are some of the things that you would say or advise other people to keep your mind present in those moments and stay positive?
I would say setting goals. Setting goals has always been a big part for me. I was not an active person. I was quite sedentary. In fact, I was like self-proclaimed like hater of exercise. I was just like, no, that's not my thing. In school, I was a musician, and I kind of categorized myself in that bubble to where, I did marching band, and that was my exercise. I played softball and stuff when I was younger, but it was more for the social aspect. I was never that good. My friends played, so I played basketball. I was on the B team. I sat the bench most of the time, but it was fun seeing my friends. But I just never found that passion in the competition side of athletics. And I wouldn't consider myself a competitive person when it comes to that. So when I joined Weight Watchers, I realized that I couldn't just not exercise anymore. It had to be part of the picture, but I couldn't be pushing back against it anymore. And what could I do? I didn't even know what I liked. Like, I was the person who said, like, I'm not going to run unless somebody's chasing me, like the cops are around or something. Like, I'm not running. You kidding me? And so I had to kind of turn around that thinking and include that in all of the things that I had to forget about weight loss. And so I kind of had like a fitness journey right alongside the weight loss journey. And it just started out with getting a Fitbit. And I would see how many steps I could get in a day. And then I would set a goal for myself, like, okay, maybe I can do 5,000 today. And maybe I can do 6,000 next week. And so then it got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm going to try and do 10,000 every day. And then my husband is a runner, and I always thought it was kind of romantic and cute if we could like run together. Like, that would be like fun to like something we could do, husband and wife together. I'm imagining like running in the fields, holding hands, like whatever, but like, I just couldn't run. Like, I couldn't run for 30 seconds without completely being winded and stopping. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to try that Couch to 5K app. I downloaded the app and I started the program from scratch, and I did intervals and got to the end of it, and lo and behold, I was running and nobody was chasing me. But it was fun, and now I choose to do it because it's like it clears my mind, and I love it. And I don't run very fast. And I don't run straight through either. I stop for walking breaks, and that's okay. You know what? I don't care. I'm not in a race with anybody. I'm just having fun by myself, or like with my kids running next to me. Like, it's fine. So yeah, that's what I do. And as far as setting goals, it was like, okay, I'm going to run a 5K for this. And now I run, I don't really enjoy those big events packed with people and trying to
Hmm.
find parking. And so I do the virtual runs, and I do one almost every month.
Okay.
Um, and those I like because they help me set a goal to work towards.
Hmm.
They help me keep training every week so that I don't lose my endurance. And I can run them on my own terrain, and I get a cool medal at the end.
Yeah.
I've always been driven by like the charms and
Yeah.
medals, and I need a reward. I'm like a
Yeah.
kindergartner.
Yeah.
So that's what I do now. So setting goals helps me in that mindset, and it's just non-negotiable. I
Yeah.
have to think about what are my non-negotiables on this journey,
Hmm.
and that's I'm not going back.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna gain the weight back. That's
Yeah.
just bottom line. I refuse.
Yeah.
And so how do I make that happen? And those are my non-negotiables. I need to track. I need to keep moving.
Yeah.
I need to sleep. I need to hydrate. Those basic habits I need to keep up.
What happens to you if you don't eat right, or if you don't get your exercise in?
I just think of the next right thing I can do for myself
Yeah.
because I'm not going to get it right 100% of the
Yeah.
time. There's going to be things that come into the journey or that come into our lives that throws us off, and
Yeah.
that's fine. I just think, what's the next right thing I can do? And I always track, even if I'm in the negatives, hundreds of
Hmm.
negatives, I always track. And it's just a habit. I just do
Yeah.
it. And it doesn't make me feel some type of way
Yeah.
about it. It's food. I've removed that attachment between how it can make me feel guilt and
Yeah.
feel badly, because it doesn't have that power over me, whereas it used to.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so that's something I've been able to work hard on. It's been 5 years. It didn't happen overnight.
Oh no.
Um,
No. How do you handle your tracking? Are you like a pre-tracker or by the minute tracker, or
all of it.
yeah?
Sometimes I pre-track depending on what's happening in the week because there's so many moving parts in my life with my
Yeah.
kids and work and whatever my husband's doing and everything and events. I don't always know every week if it's going to be a pre-tracked week or not.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just have to go with it and go with the flow. Maybe there's a
Yeah.
fundraiser we're going to. I don't know what's being served.
Mhm.
But I generally know how many points I'm working with.
Yeah.
So if I just work with, like, maybe I pre-track my meals,
Hmm.
which is fine. I eat things that I like. I don't get bored.
Yeah.
There was a question, how do you get bored with eating the same healthy things all the time? I don't get bored because I really enjoy what I eat.
Yeah.
So I think that that's key. Like, you need to find things that are nutritious, that are healthy, but that you really enjoy eating, so you
Yeah.
don't get bored.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
realize that the live is going to cut us off soon, right? 5 minutes or
I
so.
think we probably, since I restarted and started again, we probably have like 4 to 5 minutes.
Okay, because I could just keep talking.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Did you have any questions for me?
Well, I was just wondering, um, weren't you playing music? You play music?
I do play music.
So tell me about that because I'm a musician and
Oh,
I was really intrigued. I heard you playing, what was it, the guitar or the piano or what was
I've
it?
done them all. So
Okay.
if you really want to learn about WW Phil, you can go over to the Instagram TV portion of my app, and there's all kinds of things of me singing when I was big, singing and playing the guitar, the piano, the drums. There's one of me playing a Christmas song on the drums. It's hilarious. So anyway, those are all there. I've always been a musician since I was like 12. I've been playing in church all those years. I lead worship at church. Me and Ginger, the shrinking mama, have started doing a church service on Sunday mornings during this pandemic because why not? We don't have nothing else going on Sunday morning, so
Very
it's a
cool.
lot of fun. But yeah, music has always been one of those things that like calms me down. It brings me like this perfect amount of joy, and I would say that beyond like wife or kid, like the thing that if someone was going to take something away from me, that would be the worst thing would be to take away music.
Mm.
It just really lights my soul up. It gives me a lot of purpose, and yeah, I feel like that music for me is definitely like the thing that gets me back to center. Like I can listen to some good music of almost any type. I mean, I'm not like, Zach Wild and Black Label Society or something, but any type of music really. From Jimi Hendrix and blues and all of it. I love it all. Like I love going down to New Orleans. I love listening to real pure jazz, and I love listening to all of it. Church music.
So do you remember what was your first concert you went to?
George Strait.
Nice.
Yes, absolutely. It was he was at our state fair, and I actually got to meet him and shake his hand.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then I've been to hundreds of concerts in my life, but one of the ones that I got to go to as an adult was really fun. I got to see Garth. So that was cool. I didn't get to see him when he first did his big famous growing up tour, like back in the 90s and stuff like that. But a couple years ago when he did that revival tour and kind of came back out of hiding and stuff, I got to go see him then. It was like one of the highlights of my life. And then I've seen Dave Matthews like 10 or 11 times.
I went through like about 4 or 5 years where I saw Dave every summer. That was like part of our summer tradition, is we go see Dave.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's there's a lady that's in my Tuesday morning workshop that is a member with me, and we talk about Dave all the time because her and her husband, they travel all over the globe to go see Dave. Like they go to these festivals where he plays 3 days in a row. Like they go to Mexico to see him. They go camping with him in Washington State and all kinds of weird stuff. I was like, I've never done that, but it's cool.
Yeah.
Like, give me some two-step and I'll go for time.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I just wanted to say thank you for inviting me to chat with you. It's like, I don't know, it just made me feel special. So thank you very much for having me on and just being interested. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And the reason I started doing this a year ago was just because there were so many people that I wanted to know more about. And I wanted to find out how they did WW and if any of it could help me and that kind of stuff. And then it kind of became a thing where, just talking and sharing is something that people want, because like the last thing I want anyone to do from my personality is to think that you're alone. You're not alone. You have to do a lot of this yourself, but you're not alone. Mm-hmm. And I just want people to know that, man, you can chime in and hit. I'll answer all the DMs eventually or whatever. Like I give people my number to text. I want you to know, and that's one of the biggest reasons why I started this, is so that that I could connect with people that I knew that if they found value in me, that I could just share the love of them, and that would help other people. So it's just been the biggest blessing. So having you on is just like an awesome moment. I appreciate you.
Thank you. So do we have anything in the comments that we need to answer? Or
if you want to, we can. I never do. Like that's I got distracted by that a couple of times early on, and then I realized that
I don't know how much time we have.
Yeah, it'll just end. So it just ends, and then I'm starting now. All these will be on. So it's telling me now I have 1 minute and 57 seconds left. So
all right.
It's telling me we got a little bit of time. I think that might be a new feature. I don't think it's always done that, but it popped up and said there's a countdown timer, so I can tell you when it's going to end now. But so I've started putting these on YouTube so people can watch them afterwards that don't get to watch because they're only on Instagram for an hour or for 24 hours. And then I'm also like rotating everything over to my podcast. So I'm going to have a podcast that's going to launch soon.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll probably have some more people on that as well. So I just love talking to people. So.
Me too.
Yeah, absolutely. So you used to live in the Northeast, and then you moved to Texas. When did that happen?
We moved August 2018.
Okay.
So it's been like a year and a half. Okay. Almost 2 years. Yeah.
Okay. And that was like for somebody's work?
My husband's work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. I've never been to Connecticut or any of those areas up there, so I hear it's beautiful. The pictures are lovely.
Absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. Yeah. Every time I go back, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so green.
Yeah.
I'm just that.
So is that one of the only places you live? Those two places in the United States, or you live in other places?
I lived in Indiana as well. Yep. Indiana, Connecticut, and Texas.
Okay.
So those are the 3 states, and then Belgium and England in Europe.
All right. I'm always like kind of like very curious about English food because everybody says that it's like not that good. But what's the truth about it? Is English food good?
I mean, I would say French food is way better. But
We have
there's some things
five
like that are
seconds.
awesome. Like
4 seconds.
Marmite.
All right. Thank you.